We bought this property 6 years ago as a backgrounding property for livestock. We bought it knowing that it needed a lot of work, this property. The soils were basically dead, having nothing done for 20 to 25 years, so trying to turn it around to a good pasture base for running cattle.
So this is a really interesting project. We're in a lower rainfall environment around the 300mm rainfall area on deeper sandy soil. So locations less than 500mm of rainfall are harder to model out what the potential carbon store is going to be. And traditionally sands are the more challenging soils to store and sequester carbon for a long period of time. So this project was trying to bring all those elements together that no, it might not be a textbook soil carbon project location, but can we modify these soils to be more productive and as a result lead towards more positive carbon changes? We did some preliminary soil analysis, so went out, had a look at some of the key areas on the property. Yes, carbon was low, but also a lot of the other nutrients were low as well. So when we looked at that, we thought, what is the low-hanging fruit here, or what are the key opportunities here in this landscape? And that's where we went searching for clay.
We got onto Ollie from Farm Lab and Ed from Soil and Land Co. We decided to do the 3M soil mapping to find where the clay was underneath to see if we could map it, which has been reasonably accurate. And then we did the soil core sampling, and then we come into the paddock and clayed it. It took about 3 weeks with 2 clay buckets and the delver. We're 5,000 hectares, this paddock's 115 hectares. We've spread 80 to 120 tonne of clay to try and help build the soil, and put a barley crop in as it just to help it settle down over the first year before we run it back to pasture. So over a 25-year period we plan to build on that and make it in the long term more productive property.
We've got less than 3% clay in these sands, so if we can get up above around 5 to 10% clay, we can start reducing that non-wetting, so we can start getting water in there. Then with that clay, we get some of the potassium, the magnesium, calcium, all sorts can be still stored in that clay as well, so we're bringing some of that nutrition up closer to the top.
I'm hoping that once we get the paddocks with the pasture in and up and going, and we just fertilise, put nutrition into them and look after them a bit better, that the cost won't be as high and they'll start to return a bit. But the first 5 years I think is getting through that real heavy input cost, and then hopefully we'll see it turn around and the soils build and the pasture.
When we came to Hoyk, it was pretty quickly apparent that there's extremely good bird biodiversity present on the property. Threatened species, so they're listed under national and state legislation as being threatened species. Also, the landscape context of this property with the adjoining Narcate Conservation Park and nearby heritage agreement areas means that it's really important as a buffering habitat and a connecting habitat for bird life. And the reason that's important in association with the carbon project is that you can actually get a premium on your carbon price if you can also point to elements of your property management that are supporting biodiversity or improving biodiversity, or where there's existing good biodiversity values. There are parts of the value chain, buyers, etc., that will be looking for those sort of elements from their producers so that they can point to them and say, we're working with farmers who have sustainable practices in mind and are providing important value for the broader community in terms of biodiversity protection.
Part of the process of working in a carbon project is actually getting your eyes above the dashboard and starting to think about how you're managing your landscape as a strategy approach. Carbon is connected to other nutrients, so as we see the carbon building, it means we're actually building our whole nutrient pool as well. So that's a big benefit for the resilience of the landscape. Soils change slowly, but if we take care of them over the tenure of a project, we should see significant productivity and profitability, which overall provides greater resilience to these properties in this lower rainfall environment.
The soil carbon's an extra benefit, and hopefully over the 25-year lifespan of the carbon project, it will pay us back financially with the return from selling the carbon credits. The biggest challenge is to be able to keep the carbon in the soil keeping a ground cover, so building a decent pasture, long-term pasture to keep the ground cover on is the big key to it, to keep the carbon in the soil.
A lot of producers are concerned at the moment about sustainability requirements and carbon requirements, etc. If you welcome them and you engage with them as Shane has been doing here at Hoyk, then you're well on the path to positioning yourself to take advantage, to improve your production, improve your system, while also getting a bit of additional income through those carbon and biodiversity lines.
It's something you've got to build on, and it'll take many years. But I want to see the property turn around and be viable. Yeah, prove that we can actually do it out here in this low rainfall country.